The sky above Kelora shimmered like glass. Pale green clouds floated across a sun the size of a coin, and silver birds glided in slow circles over the royal gardens. Lieutenant Jacob Rains barely noticed. His head pounded, his vision blurred, and his right leg burned from a deep cut. The crash had thrown him out of his patrol craft before he could even grab a medkit. He staggered forward through the tall blue grass, each step sinking into the soft ground. Strange flowers with crystal petals grew everywhere, turning slowly, as if following him instead of the sun. The air smelled faintly of something sweet, like honey mixed with metal. His ears rang from the blast of the crash, and every movement made his head spin. Somewhere behind him, the wreck of his ship hissed and popped as it cooled. He knew the explosion would draw attention. If Kelora was as neutral as the Alliance, reports said its people might take him in, or turn him over to whoever paid the most. Jacob stumbled into a clearing and froze. Before him stretched the royal gardens, though he didn't know the name yet. Tall trees with silver bark stood, in perfect rows, their leaves a deep shimmering gold. Waterfalls poured from smooth stone cliffs into clear pools, sending up clouds of glowing mist. Strange insects with wings like stained glass floated between blossoms, their bodies pulsing with soft light, and standing in the center of it all was a girl. She was taller than any human woman he'd met, slender but strong, her skin a pale lavender that caught the light. Her hair, long and silver white, drifted like silk in the warm breeze. She wore a gown of flowing green cloth that shimmered as she moved. In her hands, she held a glowing orb the size of an apple. Her large, bright eyes, violet, with flecks of gold, locked onto Jacob instantly. She didn't scream. She didn't run. Instead, she tilted her head like someone studying an animal they'd never seen before. Jacob swallowed, his throat dry. I'm not here to hurt you, he said, his voice hoarse. The girl blinked. Her lips moved, and she spoke in a smooth, musical language he didn't understand. The words seemed to flow like water, yet they carried a curious tone. She took a step closer, then another, until she was standing just a few paces away. Jacob felt his knees weaken. Whether it was from blood loss or nerves, he couldn't tell. "Do you speak standard?" he asked. She frowned slightly as though searching for the meaning of his words. Then, with a slow, careful voice, she replied, "You are human?" Jacob's eyes widened. "Yes, human, from Earth." The girl's expression changed instantly, her eyes brightened, and she took another step toward him, the glowing orb, in her hand, pulsing faster. "I have never seen one," she said. Her voice had a soft accent, the kind that made every word sound almost like a song. "You are real." Before Jacob could reply, his legs gave out. He collapsed onto one knee, breathing hard. The cut on his thigh throbbed with every heartbeat. The girl gasped and knelt beside him. "You are hurt," she said. He managed a weak smile. "Just a scratch." It wasn't. The fabric of his flight suit was soaked through with blood. The girl reached out, hesitating for only a moment before touching his leg. Her hands were cool and smooth, her fingers long and delicate. She pressed the glowing orb to his wound, and instantly Jacob felt a strange warmth spread through him. The pain dulled, and the bleeding slowed. "What is that?" he asked. "Healing sphere," she said simply. "It will close the wound, but you must rest." Jacob wanted to argue, but the truth was he could barely keep his eyes open. "Who are you?" he managed to ask. The girl smiled faintly. "Velara," she said. "Daughter of the High Sovereign." Jacob blinked. "So, you're a princess?" She tilted her head again, as if the word was unfamiliar, then nodded. "If that is your word for one who will inherit the throne, yes." Great, Jacob thought. He'd crash-landed in the backyard of an alien princess. That was either very good news or very bad. Velara stood, her gown whispering across the grass. She glanced around the garden, her gaze sharp, almost worried. "Others will come," she said. "It is not safe for you here. Many fear your kind." Jacob frowned. "Why? We've never been here before." "Stories travel faster than ships," Velara said. "Some say humans are dangerous, wild, that you fight even when you cannot win." Jacob let out a short, tired laugh. "Yeah, that's about right." Her eyes softened, and for the first time, she smiled. "I do not think that is always bad." Before he could answer, she slipped an arm under his shoulder and helped him to his feet. She was stronger than she looked. He barely had to support his own weight. Together, they moved toward a cluster of tall plants whose broad, shimmering leaves formed a kind of curtain. Behind them lay a hidden path, winding between walls of crystal rock. "Where are we going?" Jacob asked. "A safe place," Velara said. "No one will find you there." The path led to a small grotto hidden behind a waterfall. The air was cool and filled with the sound of rushing water. Smooth stones formed a natural floor, and a small bed of moss glowed faintly in the shadows. Velara helped him lie down. She knelt beside him again, placing the healing sphere on his chest. "Rest," she said. "I will bring food and water." Jacob caught her wrist before she could leave. "Why are you helping me?" For a moment, she looked almost surprised. Then she said, "Because you are the first human I have met, and I wish to know why you are so far from your home." She slipped away into the curtain of falling water, leaving Jacob alone with the soft glow of the moss and the steady hum of the garden beyond. As his eyes drifted shut, he couldn't shake one thought from his mind. She should have turned him in, but she didn't, and that meant trouble, big trouble. The sound of rushing water faded into the background as Jacob slowly opened his eyes. Soft, glowing moss covered the walls of the grotto, casting a gentle green light over everything. His wound was wrapped in a smooth, silvery cloth that seemed to stick to itself without ties. He tested his leg. It still hurt, but it felt stronger than the day before. For a moment, Jacob wondered if it had all been a dream. A lavender-skinned princess with violet eyes, healing spheres, crystal gardens. But then he heard the faint, musical hum of a voice outside the grotto. It was her. Velara stepped through the curtain of falling water, carrying a tray made from a broad leaf. On it were several strange fruits, round, golden ones that pulsed, faintly with light, and long purple pods with a soft glow along the seams. "You wake," she said with a small smile. Her voice had a calm confidence, but her eyes scanned him carefully, as though checking for danger. Jacob pushed himself to sit. "Yeah, I think your healing orb thing worked." "It closes the flesh," she explained, setting the tray beside him. "But the body must still find its strength again." Jacob glanced at the food. "Is that safe for humans?" Velara tilted her head, almost amused. "If I wished to poison you, I would not have carried you here." Jacob smirked. "Fair point." He reached for one of the golden fruits. The skin felt cool, almost like holding a smooth stone fresh from a river. When he bit into it, the inside was soft and sweet, like honey mixed with citrus. A faint warmth spread through him. Velara sat cross-legged on the moss, watching him. "Tell me," she said, "why were you flying so close to Kalora's moons?" Jacob hesitated. He didn't want to lie to her, but he couldn't tell her everything. "Patrol mission. My ship got hit. I didn't exactly plan to visit." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "By who?" He looked away. The kind of people who don't send flowers after they shoot at you. She didn't laugh, but her lips curved slightly as though she understood his humor. So you are hunted? Yeah, Jacob admitted. And if your people find out I'm here, they might want to hand me over. Neutral planet and all. Velara didn't answer right away. She plucked one of the purple pods and snapped it open, revealing a row of tiny glowing seeds. Some on Kylora, she said softly, would see you as a danger. Others would see you as an opportunity. An opportunity to what? Jacob asked. To gain power, she said simply. Or to bring my world into the war you speak of. Jacob's stomach tightened. That's the last thing I want. Velara studied him for a moment. Then you must remain hidden. No one can know you are here. He raised an eyebrow. That includes your family? A flicker of something crossed her face, worry, maybe even fear. Especially them. Jacob leaned back against the stone wall. So, let me get this straight. You're the daughter of the High Sovereign, and you're keeping an alien, me, hidden in your personal garden without telling anyone? Her voice was firm now. Yes, because if I told you would already be gone. He stared at her. Why are you helping me? Velara's gaze didn't waver. Because I wish to understand you. My tutors speak of humans as restless, dangerous, and proud, but you... She tilted her head. You are tired, hurt, and yet you speak as though you still plan to fight. I want to know why. Jacob thought about that for a long moment. Because if I stop fighting, then the people I care about don't get to live in peace. Sometimes that's reason enough. She looked at him as though weighing his words. Your people's stubbornness. It is strange. But perhaps it is also your strength. Before Jacob could answer, a faint chime echoed from somewhere beyond, the waterfall. Velara stiffened. Stay here, she whispered, rising to her feet. Who is it? Jacob asked quietly. My handmaiden, she said, moving quickly toward the curtain of water. If she learns you are here, she will tell the others. Then don't let her in, Jacob muttered. Velara slipped outside. Jacob strained to hear the conversation, but the sound of rushing water drowned most of it. He caught only a few words. Velara's tone was calm but firm, the other voice softer, hesitant. After a few moments, footsteps retreated. Velara returned, her expression composed but tense. She suspected something, she said. I told her I was meditating. Jacob raised an eyebrow. You meditate behind waterfalls a lot? It is believable, Velara said, sitting again. But she will watch me. Jacob frowned. This is too dangerous for you. Velara's eyes flashed. And yet I am here. For a long moment, they just looked at each other. Jacob could see it now. She wasn't helping him out of mere curiosity. There was something else, a quiet defiance. Maybe she was tired of playing the perfect princess. She broke the silence first. Tell me of your home, she said. Earth. Jacob smiled faintly. Well, it's a lot less shiny than your gardens. Blue oceans, green forests, big cities full of noise. The air smells like rain before a storm. We have deserts, mountains, frozen poles. Her eyes lit up with each description. And your oceans. You have seen them? Yeah, Jacob said. The waves can be taller than a house. When the sun hits the water just right, it turns gold. Velara's gaze grew distant, as if she were trying to imagine it. I have never seen an ocean. Only the sky sees above our northern poles. Well, Jacob said with a shrug, maybe one day you will. They spent hours talking about human food, music, and stories, about Kyloran art, history, and the strange floating markets of her capital city. Jacob learned that her people could sense subtle changes in light and air, which was why she had found him so quickly in the garden. She learned that humans couldn't heal nearly as fast as Kaloran biology allowed, and seemed almost offended by the idea. As the day wore on, the moss light dimmed, shifting from green to blue. Velara stood. "I must return before the evening bells," she said. "Tomorrow, I will bring more food." Jacob nodded. "And if someone follows you?" She gave a small, mischievous smile. "Then I will lose them." With that, she slipped through the waterfall again, leaving Jacob in the quiet glow of the grotto. He lay back, staring at the stone ceiling. He knew this couldn't last. Sooner or later, someone would find out. But for now, the alien princess was keeping him safe. And for some reason, that made him feel safer than he'd been in a long time. The days passed quietly in the grotto. Jacob's wound healed faster than he expected, thanks to Velara's strange healing sphere and the glowing moss bed. Every day she came at dawn, bringing food, water, and sometimes small objects from her world. A polished crystal shaped like a bird, a cloth that shimmered between colors when you moved it, and once, a small metal disc that played soft music when tapped. Jacob was starting to feel stronger. He could walk around the grotto now, even step outside to stretch when he was sure no one was watching. But Velara always warned him, "Stay hidden. If anyone sees you, everything will change." He believed her. He didn't know much about Kaloran, politics, but he knew enough about war to recognize that if the wrong people found him, he'd become a bargaining chip. On the morning of the 5th day, Velara arrived looking unsettled. She set the food down without her usual small smile. "What's wrong?" Jacob asked. She hesitated before answering. "My father meets with the High Council today. A delegation from another world has come. They are not friendly toward humans." Jacob frowned. "Let me guess, they'd like to get their hands on me?" Velara's silence was enough of an answer. "I can't stay here forever," Jacob said quietly. "You've done more than enough. I don't want you getting in trouble because of me." But Velara shook her head firmly. "Not yet. They will. Search the skies, the ports, even the forests outside the city. But no one will think to look in the gardens. Not until—" A sudden sound cut her off, a faint metallic chime from beyond the waterfall. Velara stiffened. "Someone is coming," she whispered. "Hide!" Jacob moved quickly, limping toward a dark gap in the crystal wall. He squeezed inside just as the waterfall curtain parted. 2 figures stepped into the grotto. One was the handmaiden Jacob had heard before, the other a tall man in silver armor with the royal crest on his chest. His helmet was open, revealing pale skin and sharp, calculating eyes. "Princess," the guard said with a bow, "the council requests your presence immediately. The visitors wish to tour the gardens, and the sovereign would have you guide them." Velara inclined her head. "I will come soon." The guard glanced around the grotto. "Forgive me, but this is an unusual place for you to be. Alone." "I come here to meditate," she said smoothly. "You know this." The guard's gaze lingered on the bed of moss, then on the half-eaten fruit on the leaf tray. "Meditation, or something else?" Velara's voice sharpened slightly. "Is there a problem, Commander?" The man smiled faintly, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Not yet." When they finally left, Jacob stepped out from hiding. "That guy doesn't like you much. He suspects," Velara said grimly. "We must be careful." That afternoon, the danger arrived faster than either of them expected. Jacob was resting when he heard voices outside, many voices. The sound grew louder, and then the waterfall parted again. But it wasn't Velara. 3 guards in silver armor, stepped in, their weapons humming with a faint energy glow. Behind them was the commander from before. Jacob froze. His first instinct was to reach for a weapon, but he had none. "Well," the commander said, his voice almost amused. "So the stories are true. A human here in the Sovereign's gardens." Jacob forced a smile. "Guess I'm not very good at hiding." The commander studied him. "You are injured, yet alive. Impressive. I wonder what the High Council would give for you. Or perhaps one of our enemies." Before Jacob could answer, Velara's voice rang out from behind the guards. "Leave him," the commander turned. "Princess, this creature is a danger to your people." "He is under my protection," Velara said, stepping forward until she was between Jacob and the guards. Her eyes burned with quiet fury. The commander frowned. "You cannot protect an alien fugitive without the Sovereign's consent. The law—" "I invoke the right of sanctuary," Velara said. The guards shifted uneasily. The commander's jaw tightened. "That right has not been used in a century." "It is still law," she said coldly. "He remains with me, and any who harm him answer to me." The commander's eyes narrowed. "Your father will not approve." "That," Velara replied, "is my concern." For a tense moment, no one moved. Then the commander gave a sharp gesture, and the guards lowered their weapons. "This is not over," he said, and they left. When the sound of their footsteps faded, Jacob let out a breath. "You just painted a huge target on your back." Velara turned to him. "It was the only way. Now no one can take you without challenging my right in the council chamber." "That sounds temporary," Jacob said. "It is," she admitted. "The right of sanctuary buys time, nothing more. But now we must decide our next step." He rubbed his forehead. "You're sure there's no way to just slip me off this planet quietly?" "Not anymore," she said. "Now that the commander has seen you, the news will spread." Jacob sat heavily on the moss bed. "Then we're in trouble." "Yes," Velara agreed, "but trouble can be survived." Her words should have comforted him. Instead, Jacob felt the weight of what was coming. He had the uneasy sense that the quiet days in the grotto were over, and that whatever happened next would drag them both far from the safety of the gardens. That night, Velara returned with a map, a thin sheet of crystal etched with glowing lines. She placed it on the moss, and the surface projected a three-dimensional image of the palace grounds. "There are 3 ways off the palace moon," she explained. "The sky docks, the shuttle rings, and the hidden ports used by the trade guilds. All are watched." Jacob pointed to a cluster of dots on the edge of the map. "What's this?" "An old courier station," she said. "It connects to the asteroid belt beyond Kalora's reach. Few go there now." Jacob studied it. "Looks promising." "It will be dangerous," Velara warned. "The path takes us through the lower city and the open plains. Many eyes." He gave a faint smile. "I've been through worse." She looked at him, her expression unreadable. "Perhaps that is true. But this time, you will not be alone." They didn't get to plan further. The next morning, the commander returned, this time with an official summons from the High Council. Velara was ordered to bring her guest for questioning. Jacob knew what that meant. They wanted to decide who got to use him. When he glanced at Velara, he saw no fear, only determination. "We go," she told the commander, "but not to surrender. I will speak for him." The commander smirked, as if humoring a child. "Then speak quickly, princess. The council is waiting." As they walked out of the grotto together, Jacob realized this was no longer about his survival alone. It was about hers, too. The cold light of Kalora's 3 moons glinted off the silver walls of the palace as Jacob and Velara were escorted through the grand halls. The air buzzed with tension. Soldiers and council members watched them closely, whispering behind their hands. The High Council chamber was unlike anything Jacob had seen. A massive oval room, with seats arranged in tiers, glowing softly from crystalline lamps above. Velara stood tall, her violet eyes sharp and unwavering. Jacob limped. Beside her, feeling the weight of unseen eyes pressing on his back. The council elders sat in silence, their expressions unreadable. The eldest among them, a woman with silver hair and piercing blue eyes, rose. "Princess Velara, you bring a human into our sacred grounds. This is an act of defiance." Velara met her gaze steadily. "He is under my protection. He is injured, and he means no harm to Kaelora." A councilman sneered. "He is a spy, a weapon waiting to be used against us." Jacob's heart pounded. He had no proof to deny the accusation, only the hope that Velara's trust in him was not misplaced. The eldest woman raised her hand, silencing the murmurs. "Very well. We will hear from the human." Jacob swallowed his fear and stepped forward. "I'm no spy. I was on patrol when my ship was attacked. I'm just trying to survive." His voice was steady, but he felt every eye in the chamber on him. The council was silent for a long moment before the eldest spoke again. "We will decide your fate soon. For now, you remain under guard." Velara's jaw tightened. "I will not leave him alone." Her words caused a stir, but the elders nodded reluctantly. "Then you will both remain here." That night, the palace was restless. Jacob lay on a narrow cot in a guarded room staring at the ceiling. Velara sat beside the window, watching the moons spin silently overhead. "We can't stay here," Jacob said quietly. "They'll keep you prisoner too." Velara nodded. "I know, but I need time to plan, to find a way out." Suddenly, a soft knock came at the door. A young guard entered holding a small package. "Princess, this is for you." Velara opened it carefully. Inside was a tiny device, a small sphere that pulsed with a faint blue light. Jacob leaned closer. "What is it?" Velara's eyes widened. "A communicator. Someone inside the palace wants to help." Jacob looked at her. "Then, let's use it." For the next hours, they whispered plans and listened to the messages from their mysterious ally. The palace was full of spies and watchers, but the secret network was strong. "The guard says the shuttle docks are guarded heavily," Velara said. "But there is a service tunnel beneath the lower city. It leads to the trade guild's secret hangars." Jacob smiled despite the danger. "Then that's where we go." The next night, they moved quietly through the palace halls. The corridors were empty except for a few guards who barely noticed the princess and her human companion. Reaching the service tunnel entrance was harder than they thought. The door was locked tight with a strange device that shimmered with energy. Velara took the communicator from her pocket and whispered, "Now." A soft hum began, and the lock glowed. Slowly, the door slid open. The tunnel was narrow and dark, lit only by dim red lights. The air was stale and cold. Jacob led the way, his steps careful but steady. Velara followed, her senses alert for any sign of danger. Suddenly, a loud alarm blared through the tunnel. "Someone triggered the security system," Jacob hissed. They broke into a run, pounding through the twisting passages as red lights flashed, and the sound of footsteps echoed behind them. Velara shouted, "This way!" They came to a wide chamber filled with strange ships, some small, sleek, others bulky and rusted. Jacob spotted a familiar shape, a shuttle like the ones used by human traders. It was old, but it looked like it could fly. They sprinted toward it, the guards closing in fast. Jacob shoved open the hatch and jumped inside. Velara followed, slamming the door shut just as the guards reached the airlock. Jacob grabbed the controls, fumbling at first before the engines roared to life. "Hold on!" he yelled as the shuttle shot upward through the tunnel, bursting into the cold night sky. Behind them, alarms blared across the palace. "Where now?" Velara asked, gripping the seat. Jacob's eyes scanned the stars. "To the courier station. It's the only place where we can find safe passage off this moon." The shuttle shook violently as it passed through a meteor shower, tiny rocks hitting the hull. Velara held tightly. "I've never seen space like this." "Neither have I," Jacob said, "but I'm glad you're here." The journey was tense, the shuttle's old systems groaning as they hurtled through space. Jacob used every skill he had learned in the military, dodging meteors and enemy patrols. Velara kept watch, using her knowledge of the stars to guide them. After hours, the courier station appeared, a cluster of small buildings and docking bays hidden among asteroids. Jacob guided the shuttle toward the station, relief flooding him. They landed safely, though the engines sputtered on the final approach. Inside, the station. The atmosphere was tense but quieter than the palace. Jacob and Velara moved cautiously, avoiding patrols. A shadowy figure stepped from the shadows. The ally who had sent the communicator. "You made it," the figure said, voice low. "But they're already searching the lower city." Jacob frowned. "What now?" "We get you off this system," the figure said. "There's a ship leaving for Earth in hours. It's your best chance." Velara looked at Jacob. "Are you ready?" He nodded. "I have to be." They moved through the station's twisting corridors, heartbeats quickening as they neared the ship. Suddenly, a squad of guards blocked their path. Jacob and Velara exchanged a glance. "Run!" Jacob shouted. They darted through the corridors, weaving past startled guards. Velara's voice rose in a commanding shout, sending a nearby group scattering. Jacob reached the ship's hatch and helped Velara aboard. The engines roared as the ship lifted off, escaping the station's grip. As they soared into the dark vastness of space, Jacob looked at Velara. "We made it," he said. She smiled softly. "For now." Jacob nodded. "But this is only the beginning." Together they stared out at the endless stars, ready to face whatever came next. The stars stretched endlessly before them as the small ship slipped away from the Kaloran system. Jacob and Velara sat side by side in the cockpit, their faces bathed in soft blue light from the control panel. For the first time in many days, they allowed themselves a moment of quiet. Jacob broke the silence. "Where exactly are we heading?" Velara's violet eyes focused on the distant stars. "Earth, your home world." Jacob smiled, but it was a tired smile. "I haven't seen it in years." She nodded. "I have never been off Kalora. This is new for me." The ship hummed steadily, slicing through the cold dark. Despite the danger they had left behind, both knew their journey was far from over. The ship's small cabin was sparse but comfortable. After the tense escape from the courier station, they had taken only what they needed. Velara studied the star charts projected on the wall, learning about human space, while Jacob checked the ship's limited supplies. "I hope we have enough fuel," he said. "The next jump is long," Velara smiled. "I can help. I know. Some old Kaloran navigation tricks." Together, they planned the route, a series of hidden wormholes and lesser-known space lanes that could keep them away from hostile patrols. Their days in the ship were filled with cautious hope. They shared stories about their worlds. Jacob spoke of Earth's oceans and forests, of bustling cities full of life and light. Velara described Kalora's crystal forests, the silent beauty of its floating gardens, and the strict laws that kept her people in order. Slowly, a friendship grew between them, built on trust, respect, and the hope of something better. But danger never truly left. One morning, the ship's sensors beeped urgently. "Unknown vessel approaching fast," Jacob said, alarmed. Velara hurried to the controls. They're closing in. It must be the commander's fleet. Jacob gripped the console. We need to hide, now. Using the ship's cloaking system, an old, unstable device Velara had found in the courier station, they vanished from sensors just moments before the patrol's scanners swept past. Close call, Jacob muttered. Too close. Velara nodded. We must be smarter. As they continued, they passed through strange and beautiful places, nebulae glowing with purple light, fields of drifting ice crystals, and planets alive with strange creatures. Each step forward made Jacob feel closer to home, but also more aware of the danger behind them. One evening, as they prepared to jump through a wormhole, Velara hesitated. Jacob, she said softly, once we reach Earth, what then? He looked at her, surprised. I don't know. I guess we figure it out together. She smiled, but her eyes were thoughtful. Kelora and Earth are very different. You'll have to teach me. And you'll have to teach me about your world, he replied. After weeks of travel, the ship finally dropped out of hyperspace near Earth. The blue planet shone like a jewel, its clouds swirling over vast oceans and green continents. Jacob's heart quickened. Home. But as they approached, alarms sounded. Another ship was waiting, a sleek black vessel that blocked their path. Enemy, Velara said quietly. The ship hailed them. A cold voice echoed through the cabin. You cannot land. The Federation has orders to detain the human and his alien companion. Jacob's jaw tightened. We're not stopping. Prepare to be boarded, the voice warned. The next minutes were a blur of action. The black ship fired warning shots, but Jacob used the shuttle's agility to dodge. Velara accessed the navigation systems, plotting a risky escape route through Earth's atmosphere. The small ship plunged through clouds, shaking violently as it entered the lower skies. Radar pulses from the Federation's ship followed, but Jacob's piloting skills kept them ahead. Finally, they landed in a remote forest clearing, engines cooling in the quiet night. Safe for now, Jacob and Velara stepped out into the cool earth. Air. The forest was alive with sounds, crickets chirping, leaves rustling. The stars above were familiar, but distant. Jacob looked at Velara. We made it, she smiled, a mix of relief and wonder. Your world is beautiful. They knew the journey ahead would be hard. The Federation would search for them, and humans on Earth might not welcome an alien princess. But together, they were ready to face whatever came next. In the days that followed, Jacob contacted old friends from his military days, trusted allies who believed in him and were willing to help. Velara learned quickly about Earth's cultures, languages, and people. The bond between human and alien grew stronger, their partnership a symbol of hope, proof that differences could be bridged. One evening, as they sat beneath the stars, Jacob took Velara's hand. We survived the impossible. Maybe now we can build something new. Velara squeezed his hand back. Not just survive, thrive. The future was uncertain, but for the first time, both felt hope. Together, they faced new horizons, a human and an alien princess bound by trust, courage, and the promise of a better tomorrow.